Good morning, and thank you, Professor Pathak. It's an honor and delight to be here. A bit overwhelming, frankly, because I'm speaking in front of two of my gurus, who not only brought out the best in me, but in thousands of students, speaking in front of Dr. Kakodkar and Professor Thakole, inspiration and motivation for life, and good friend and another motivator, Vivek Sawant and his team, is learning in the same field that I do my day job in, which is learning technologies. I represent kPoint Technologies, which is an online video platform. And the title was given to me based on the content I supplied. It's like writing an essay given the title. I'm no academic, although I started being an academic about 22 years back. And unfortunately, being in an area where we have to worry about quarters and years in terms of financial numbers, we can't really look too far ahead. I understand the occasion here is unveiling of the TIFAC report on roadmap for technology in education for 2035. We can barely look 5 years ahead, and so please pardon me if my comments are a little bit near-term in nature. My first job was that of an academic, but it was in a way a job for an entrepreneur, because we were told right in the beginning that you are responsible for half the year's salary through your own grant. And if you don't get your grant, then you have to teach 2 extra courses. So that was a good beginning for me, because earning half my salary through my own effort really trained me for what I did for the rest of the time. Of course, that was in the US, this was in India. And there also we were constantly trying to impress and surprise so that we would look different. And that meant research and innovation of some kind. And that's my connection with the track that we are in this panel on. So invigorating academia will be from the point of view of an entrepreneur in the ICT sector, which is what I have been. And since usually ICT has been at the cutting edge, I would say I have some connection with the new age. So let's look at what the new age is, really. So Daniel Pink, the speechwriter for Al Gore, in one of his books, said there are 4 ages. And we have now entered the conceptual age, where what's important is to be a creator, to be an empathizer, to be more design-oriented. All the aspects that were considered somewhat detrimental to knowledge workers, who had to be attention to detail-oriented, who had to be very structured, methodical. And I believe in terms of education, we are a little bit in between the factory worker, because a lot of our educational pedagogy is still in the industrial age, and it needs to move to something here. And so that's quite a challenge. The things that have really changed for us, everybody has information literally at their fingertips. I mean, this has been unbelievable, and I'm sure all of you use it. There is no idea that you can think of which is really new. All the magic is in implementing, executing, and making benefit out of the idea, because somewhere, someone in the world not only is working on what you think is new, but is also a little bit ahead, is able to collaborate, maybe has more money. And so all the challenges after you get the new idea. The collaboration opportunities are limitless. I mean, it really doesn't matter if you have a degree now. You could find a job on Upwork, you could collaborate with anyone, anywhere. Open source has really created magic for everyone and opened up opportunities. And we are all standing in the fear of extreme AI-driven automation. And we don't really know what it will be, but we are all awaiting it. And we see some of it. Driverless cars is not a new term for anyone. Lots of university research on it. So this is the new age. And so what we want to talk about is, how should academia look at the new age? And how should it prepare so that it can prepare its output for the new age? So before we look at that, maybe we should look at what we excel at. So there's a little bit of a light-hearted humor there, but a new look at the old questions is mandatory. Right? Some of the ideas here from the neuroscientist David Eagleman. So what are humans good at, and what is the computer good at, or what is the machine good at? So we really do a really good job at interpreting in a certain context. Usually it's our own context. And our own context is built over years through our experience and relationships, which really can't be replicated. In a way, we are all in our own virtual reality while we live in this world. And nobody else can mimic it. We are, of course, able to ask questions. That is the primary job we in the technology industry train our new hires for. Ask questions. We should question whether our academia also encourage people to ask questions. And then we are really good at filtering the information we get. We all live most of the times in activities which are aimed at impressing and surprising others. When in the interview, we are required to do that. When you go on a sales call, you are required to do that. When you go on a social occasion, we are busy with impressing and surprising others. And that's a really good human skill. You can't teach a robot that. And then finally, we are able to work under constraints because given a certain limitation, we do that. So the big question is the academia working out its methods and processes and programs so that what humans are really good at comes out even better? Maybe that is something we should really begin doing at, because we have entered an age which is beyond the knowledge workers' age. It is the age where the artistic side, the design side, the storification side, the empathy side is to become stronger. So let us begin right at one of the examples where I have some exposure. We say the academia should excel at what humans do. But then there is also something common. So this is a picture that kids out of a school near Khed Shivapur see when they come out of their class. This is their classroom, and that's their headmaster, the best teacher and the headmaster. It's a pre-primary school, Marathi education near the foothills of Torna. And thanks to an association with Gyan Prakash Foundation, an NGO here in Pune, I got some exposure who are trying to strengthen the governmental system of education in primary local language schools. And what they did was, instead of working towards all kids sitting at their desk, going through a standard program, learning the standard things, reciting them, they got them into doing the classroom somewhat like this: sit in smaller groups, do things with each other, the teachers there only to facilitate. And then, the effect of this was when the inspectors one day came and they saw the classroom to be like this, they said, this school has no discipline, and then failed the teachers. But then once some convincing was done, they realized that this was a superior method. Now, why is this important? Because these are the people who are going to enter the industry very soon, or maybe in a 10-year period. And they start off with running the same software. Everybody's brain is the same kind of software. And where it starts to differ is when they all absorb, there's a little bit of a formatting issue there. They all absorb what's around them, and that's what differentiates one from the other. But should the school system really, in order to make them innovative, say that in my method of evaluation, you are good and you are not, you're creative and you are not, that will be real damage to some of the kids who all are running, all the kids, in fact, who are running the same software. So if this is the case, then let's ask, what must academia really do? So Professor Joshi talked about trust between industry and academia. I would say there is a lower level, trust between the learner and the educational system. So, and the educational system comes across in a variety of ways through the techniques, technologies they use. And so this, again, a bit of humor there. But what is really required, and we see this all the time at work, we want engineers who come in to see the need. Now, if today a college teaches COBOL, then the student's going to say, I'm not going to learn anything here because I will never use it. And there is a loss of trust there. If you use Turbo C, or if you use some dated microprocessor architecture, just because that was what the exam gets set on, that's what the teacher knows, and that's what the system actually is able to evaluate, then you lose the student's relationship with the educational system completely right there. But what we would like, and this is what will make them ready for the new age, is help them see the need. Feed their curiosity, foster creativity, keep the onus of learning on the student forever. You don't need to take the responsibility really to make the student learn, because if you do that in school and college, then that translates into industry, and then the employee says, I got to be trained so I learn something new, and that really where you lose the plot, because you want the person to really learn something every day so that he can solve the new problems and be innovative. But the habit gets built at the start, and you know how hard habits die, and so that's one of the onus on the educational system. Being honest with oneself is a big deal for us. I think most of the times we find that we don't train the students to be honest with themselves, and that translates into what happens at work too. For example, you really want to work for a startup, but you really can't, because a startup has essentially an uncertain future, and on the challenges faced on the home front, personal front, the uncertainty is not acceptable, because maybe there is a marriage proposition or there is a EMI to be paid, and all those things come in, and you really cannot be honest with what you want to do. Some of these metrics are actually built outside, and as people who are trying to get innovation done or facilitate people who want to be innovative and do new work, a lot of these hurdles from outside come in, and that creates a challenge. One more of the challenges that we face all the time, both at companies and we see students facing it, is you can't be innovative once in life or at the beginning of your career. The whole career has to be innovative, and I'll really end with what it means. But for now, just want to say that more than being innovative, more than doing something new, what is important is to be able to keep doing or keep attempting to do something new all your life, and that habit really has to begin in schools. So this was my, let's say, an entrepreneur's view of how the educational system has to work with its students and what must come out. Didn't say anything about technology, because technology will always come second. So human behavior, that will come first. And for all the people who are creating tools for technology-based learning, it is very important to keep in mind that, what is the behavior you want to bring out first. So now I'll switch gears a little bit and take a look at the IT industry, which I'm so familiar with, but give a slightly different view. So this is a financial portfolio view, which means what you're doing is you have some resources to invest, you're willing to take some risk, and you expect a reward. This is what a portfolio does. We are all familiar with it. And so now let's look at the two categories of companies we see. One we say is very innovative, the other we say is very profitable, but then this is how they look. If you look at a business which is a product business, which is based on its own intellectual property, and is trying to make, the way the Swiss people charged a very heavy price for what they had created, and that need forced you to create something and then cut down the price. So there is an investment needed. So essentially in the ICT business today, the investment risk and reward are all at the high level. You've got to invest a lot, the risk is severe, but the potential reward is very high. As against this, if you look at the services business, the starting investment and sustained investment is relatively low. These are relative terms, high and low. Different categories, the numbers will be different. The risk is relatively low because your profitable income starts the day you provide service which is consumed. And then the reward is not low, it is sizable, but I mean to say it is capped. It cannot have a hockey stick growth because there is no replicability. You have to put somebody to work to provide that service, and only then you make the income, and therefore it becomes linear, which means it is capped. It doesn't have the exponential growth. So as the companies mature, then what happens is the product company would try to reduce the new investment required and try to reduce the risk because it faces viability, predictability problems. And we see that all around us. The ICT services companies are trying to invest a bit more so that they get the new technologies, and in the hope that their reward will go up a little faster than the level of investment they make. So where is the challenge? what do these companies, both kinds of companies, find hard? And that's again very important because we are talking about being innovative. Unless you figure out what's hard. So companies work very hard on vision, mission, their facilities, their benefits and everything. And they still worry, we have a lot of attrition. People don't stick around. The reason is maybe you didn't work on that lowest leaf level employee to manager relationship and that remains poor, although you do everything else. And therefore it breaks. So ground level actions are very important in being able to be innovative or creative or an organization that does new things. The biggest challenge is it's very hard to cannibalize success. Okay? If you are successful doing something, why would you give it up? Simple question. And that too, why would you start to give it up when it's still very profitable? This is really the problem facing the ICT industry. And this, not only our ICT industry, but Yahoo is dead, Sun Microsystems is dead, Tandem is dead. There are so many landmark technology companies are no longer there because they were unable to cannibalize their success. Second is some of them were unable to sustain the innovation. One of the shining examples of sustaining innovation is Microsoft. Even in the new era of cloud, it's able to come back, and it's such a proud thing for us to have Satya Nadella, somebody from around the environment that we are in, lead that. So that is very hard. Learning from failures is very hard because the job of a manager to motivate people, you can't really motivate by somebody, hey, team, you failed, we failed. And if you say, okay, I failed, and if you are a leader in the company, then that's going to stick with you. Our society really puts a stigma on failure, and that's why startups don't really shut down very easily. Even the government makes it very hard to shut down a startup. It's changing for sure, but it is hard, right? Because everyone says, oh, you failed once, I don't know if you will succeed next. And you see that in the VC community too. They will fund entrepreneurs who have been successful before. So innovating on the business model is an equal challenge for companies, and some of it has to do with the first point, which is cannibalizing success. And this is one of the hardest things which I think education really teaches us. The educational system should teach that once you go into an organization, you want to be sure that you remain there if you're aligned. If you're not aligned, then step out, but don't remain inside misaligned. But we don't get taught that. So numbers now. We finally have to come to money because innovation needs money, and let's see the status of things around us. R&D spend among top 5 companies. The green circle there is really about the revenue. These are companies which have TCS with $18 billion revenue, Infy with $10+ billion revenue, so on. Okay? Impressive numbers, great success for the country, lots of job creation. But they have huge piles of cash. $5 billion with TCS, Infy 5.49, massive amounts of cash with the company. Cash means these are assets, liquid money available to invest. And there is very low investment in grabbing future opportunities. Look at the percentage, 1% on revenue by TCS. TechM numbers are not available, HCL Tech, 0.31%. The absolute numbers are there too, right above. You see the revenue per employee. Professor Joshi brought out a beautiful point at the beginning. In the service sector, if I make 1 lakh of salary, I should generate 20 lakh of revenue. The starting salary in IT industry is 3 lakh. They should generate 60 lakh revenue. 60 lakh revenue is about $100K. Look at the amount of revenue generated. Those numbers are in dollars. It's lower, much lower. What are the numbers for the leading services company around the world? $80 billion in revenue for IBM, which is a services company. $193K per employee of revenue. R&D spend $5.4 billion, about 6%. So if you don't spend money despite having cash, how are you going to be able to innovate? That's a challenge facing us. Accenture, another big company, their revenue per employee is lower. A product company like Apple would try to make, or Cisco would try to make revenue per employee about $600K per year. So, we are not following in that industry what Jahangir Tata said. He's the one who really started TCS, Tata Tea, Titan, and he spread the Tata empire beyond Tata Power and Tata Steel. Money is like manure. You pile it up, it stinks. You spread it, it grows and leads to growth. You saw money being piled up. So if this is the case around us, what are we going to tell the students? So let's realize one thing here, and the font again has a problem. When a company has big success, we say that the entrepreneurial team was great, fabulous idea, wonderful execution, everything. But really at the back of all of it, and this is analysis of many companies, what really leads to big success, okay, not success, big success, makes news all over the world, is that they are able to ride a wave. The wave is there, it's coming. And this company, because of its preparation, team execution, etc., is able to ride it. And the force of the wave propels the company to big success. So it's being in the right place at the right time, you would say, but it's also big success is caused by something happening in the environment. And you see the ocean, there is wave after wave. So it's not that opportunities are going to go away. They will continue being there. Right? So you have to figure out which wave you want to catch. And in the academia, I would say, the real job is facilitate building of the competence so you can catch the wave. And then teach sustaining innovation so that not only can you catch, but you can ride the wave, because that's a different challenge. Okay? So with that, I'll stop. I have some friends who contributed their thoughts. And, sir, that's the end of my talk. Thank you.
I hope you would agree when I say simply amazing, particularly how he is connecting the technology innovation from an industry point of view to the bare need of the educational system to provide the foundations of building such things in future. Thank you so much.